What's up? It's the Coaster Craze. 2020 has obviously been a really hectic year, but it brings along a really awesome new crop of roller coasters to be owning. It's just a question of when they come out. So I think now's the perfect time during this big quarantine to discuss what the most anticipated new coasters are of the year, at least in my opinion. And by the way, there are 6 honorable mentions in the description below, so make sure to check those out if you don't see a really great coaster on this list. So let's get right onto the list with my number 10 pick, Launch Coaster at Sunzhu Cultural Park in China. And Launch Coaster is an essence compressed air launch coaster, and it features a pretty decent track length. These coasters are super fast, so the ride does go by pretty quickly, but there's been a lot of these built in China recently, and most of them have the same layout. This one is a bit longer and a bit more compact with a more twister layout that includes an inversion, actually, a dive loop that looks fantastic. It's a really fast top speed, it's very tall, it's a massive ride, so it's impressive just on that. I'm gonna say it's definitely gonna be the best launch of 2020 just because of how powerful these ones are. I mean, we've seen it at Six Flags Great America with Max Force. This is just a longer ride, and it has more airtime focus and laterals than inversions, but it's still a great mix of all of them. Plus, it's designed by Alan Schilke, so that should say enough on how great this coaster is gonna be. Vekoma is going to have a top-notch year in 2020, and the Topcan coasters going to Fantawild in Ganzhou and Fantawild Ningbo, which is the only one of these two parks that actually has a name, as they're actually new parks, but these Topcan coasters look fantastic. It's a new clone model that's debuting in 2020, and boy, does this look like one of their best multi-launch coasters. I mean, it has a powerful launch, and there's no stats released yet, but it looks like it's pretty low to the ground. More about the speed and inversions. You can see there's a lot of great inversions. I love how it launches into that massive almost roll. It has really powerful airtime, at least in the video. This video preview is a really great job of just showing this coaster off. And boy, does the layout just look fantastic. It's like an intimate Blitz, but maybe with an even better layout. And based on new Vekoma, from what I've heard, they're really smooth. There is a mid-course break around this, which is unfortunate, but it doesn't look like it slows it down too much. Plus, it's so low to the ground, so it retains speed and has a great pacing throughout the entire ride. Continuing on the trend of Vekoma launch coaster clones going to East Asia, I have the two Vekoma Firestorm models. One's going to Vinpearl Land in Vietnam, the other to World Fairy Tale Land in China, and these look fantastic. So they're not super long, but they still have a decent track length. But the real draw is the speed and height. I mean, 71.5 miles per hour, 164-foot top hat that has a beyond vertical drop. That's some impressive stuff. And though it only has 3 inversions, it packs in a lot of airtime. I think 6 airtime moments, like a bunch of overbank turns. It just looks like a really excellent layout. Just the sequencing of elements and all of it is just so well paced. And if the real rides live up to this animation at all, this will be a top-notch coaster and just a really impressive clone model that I really hope comes to the States. Fly coming to Phantasialand is probably the biggest unknown on this list, and we don't even know if it's going to come out in 2020, but I just have so much faith in this ride because Phantasialand always impresses with the theming, and what we've seen so far from this new area, Rookburg, is just insane. I mean, it has this almost steampunky vibe with the factories, but also futuristic. And this is a new generation Vekoma flying coaster, the first ever launch flying coaster, which is so sweet. And it's the longest ever flying coaster, longer than Flying Dinosaur at Universal Studios Japan, which is 3,600 feet of track. So this is gonna be a long ride too. It stays low to the ground, has tunnels, and I feel like it's just gonna have some great whip. You can see in the pictures of the construction so far, even though there's no official layout release, there's gonna be airtime hills, great inversions, laterals, underground dives. This thing looks absolutely insane. Hopefully it does open in 2020. Jersey Devil Coaster is one of the few on this list that will actually arrive this year, since I often go to Six Flags Great Adventure, and I cannot wait. It's a perfect fit for the park, and boy, does it look fantastic. Maybe it's not going to have the same extreme whip as the prototype Raptors, but it's a lot longer ride, 3 great inversions, tons of powerful airtime hills, and hopefully the capacity is good enough, but it's going to be a smooth ride, faster, taller, longer than these other Raptors, and it looks like it has some really great elements and still some really fantastic intensity. Orion is an interesting case because of all these coasters, it's probably the one that's caused the most disappointment in the coaster enthusiast community. But that doesn't mean it's a great coaster. I think it's one of the top 5 coming out this year because of just sheer height and speed. It's a B&M Giga for crying out loud. Sure, the layout is a bit lazy, but there's still some highlights, like that massive wave turn, which is just something that's never been seen on that level. The turnaround looks cool. There isn't a ton of airtime moments, unfortunately, and yes, it is a little too similar to Diamondback at the same park, and it's kind of too small for like the typical Giga size, but like that speed hill is cool, and there's some nice elements. I wish it was longer, and yeah, there's a lot of things it could have done better, but it'll still be a great ride. It'll be smooth, reliable, and it's just massive too. We have very little information about this coaster other than that it's an intimate Blitz that's going to be very similar, if not the same layout as Terran at Phantasialand. It might have a top hat though and be a little different, and it's going to come to Chengdu, Wanda City, which is supposed to open May 2020. We'll see if the coronavirus impacts this at all, but if this is the case, it's going to be a phenomenal coaster. We already know about how great Terran is, and yes, a lot of that relies on the excellent theming and the rock work, but if you look at the artwork here, this is a similar amount of rock work that maybe it's not as good as Phantasialand, but it's still a great coaster in its own right, and maybe this will be a slightly different layout, or they make it a little faster, a little taller, since they don't have the same height restrictions as Phantasialand, and I think this coaster will be really fantastic. Intimate Blitz is just such a great model of coaster, and this is going to pack in a lot of great airtime moments and laterals, and awesome launches. These top 3 look like some of the best in the world, and we're starting that off with Abbas, which looks like the best of all these Vekoma launch coasters. This one's actually a multi-launch, and yeah, it's not as tall or fast as the Firestorm, but it's so long, like 4,300 feet of track, and the first launch is just like banks and stuff and like small airtime hills, and then it hits with the main second launch where you get the big top hat to get to the top height of the ride, and you get your 4 inversions, which includes a batwing, which is so cool because you don't see those much these days, and those look like really intense and really fun. Awesome vertical loop, corkscrew, just really low to the ground the entire time with powerful airtime hills, twisted ejector, great laterals. It's over water. The theming looks excellent because it's Energylandia, and this really just looks like the top Vekoma coaster. Super impressive. Pantheon is such an impressive coaster. There hasn't been an official like POV released, but there have been ones made, as you can see here, that is based on like all the ride layout, which is basically all done construction. Seaworld's really ahead of the game, and boy, is it such a long ride. There's a lot of parts of it. There's multiple launches, and even though it's just a little over 3,000 feet of track, you go through the, like parts of the track multiple times to like the reverse section. I really love how like the forward launch is like part way through the ride, and then after that you get like all these airtime humps, the massive top hat with a beyond vertical drop, that massive outer bank turn that looks like Steel Vengeance or something, and that low to the ground turn right next to the Rhine River. Just everything about this ride, plus like the stalls and stuff. This is just such a phenomenally unique and creative layout by Intamin. Really impressive. Number 1 is no surprise. Iron Gwazi just looks insane. This is the other Busch Gardens new for 2020 coaster, and it's probably going to open soon if it wasn't for coronavirus at least, because it's actually started testing, which is super impressive, and it looks fantastic. Again, no official POV was released, but we know all the layout, and it is just something. That steep, beyond vertical drop, technically 91 degrees, is massive. This is pretty much the American version of Zadra, just a little bit more spread out, and it is a pretty long ride, over 4,000 feet of track. It is fast, it is massive, the elements are insane, these crazy wave turns, some really epic looking inversions, tons of airtime moments. That first drop looks really remarkable. This is something that like is just a bucket list coaster for everybody. Easily one of the top 10 best coasters in the world, and will probably rival Steel Vengeance for being the best RMC. So, yep, that concludes my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this provided some enjoyment during this pretty crazy time. I know that all these new coasters, it's kind of tepid when they're going to come out just because of the whole COVID-19 coronavirus situation, but hopefully that gets sorted out and we can enjoy these phenomenal creations this year. So I'd really appreciate it if you guys tap the little eye in the top right hand corner of your screen and voted on what the type of video you want to see me do next is, and also like and subscribe for more awesome content from the Coaster Craze. Also make sure to comment down below what you think the top 10 best new coasters of 2020 are, and check out this playlist right here of other roller coaster rankings. Thank you for watching and stay safe. See you guys later from the Coaster Craze. Bye.